I've spent the last year as a business buyer, and I've reviewed over 120 small businesses listed for sale. And what I've discovered as a business buyer is what every small business owner needs to know, because I've seen what kills deals. And it is so obvious to me why 80% of small businesses listed for sale never sell. I'll talk you through my experiences and stick around because you're going to be shocked by some of these. I'm Heather. I've built, scaled, and sold a 7-figure business. I've scaled another business to 8 figures, and I've been through 8 M&A transactions and counting. If you don't want to make the same mistakes that thousands of business owners have made, then you need to keep watching, because I've seen what kills deals. Incompetent is a strong word, I know, but I've been absolutely shocked by the levels of service that some brokers provide to their small business clients. Let me tell you about John, which is not his real name, but this is a true story. I inquired about John's business in the 3rd week of January. The broker responded to my inquiry in the middle of March, 7 weeks later. By the time the broker responded, I was in the process of negotiating a different deal, so my interest in John's business had plummeted. Now, I was a serious buyer. I was interested in John's business and I had proof of funds. Yet almost 2 months later, my priorities had shifted. What makes this really sad was that John was selling his business because he had a family member who was unwell and he needed to care for them. And because the broker took so long to respond to a genuine inquiry, John lost out on the opportunity to sell his business. It's now a few months later, and I don't think John has sold his business, and that's a real shame. Now you might be thinking, that's a terrible story. I just need to make sure I don't use John's broker. But these broker horror stories are everywhere. I wish this was an isolated incident, but it's not. Check Trustpilot reviews or Google reviews. Ask any business buyer about their last 5 interactions with brokers, and guaranteed they'll have a horror story. And even worse, I've spoken to over 100 exited founders, and so many of them were disappointed by the service provided by their broker or advisor. Many of them were locked in disputes over whether they needed to pay the fees for years after completing the deal. The sad truth is that some brokers and advisors will charge you a substantial fee to market your business, and then they won't do very much to make sure that you actually reach a deal. It might sound like I'm saying that all brokers are terrible, and that's not true. There are some brilliant brokers out there, but you really do have to do your due diligence before you appoint one, because the wrong broker can kill your deal before it's even started. Your information memorandum is a confidential document that is used to showcase your business to potential buyers. Buyers get access to your information memorandum after they have signed a non-disclosure agreement, so everything in there is confidential. I have seen some shocking information packs with not enough relevant information, badly written, poorly formatted, and badly designed. Right now, I am picturing in my mind one information memorandum that I saw that was so pixelated, I couldn't read the information. It was ridiculous. How does that happen? Where is the pride? I'm sorry, business owner, but that is on you. Your broker can't send your information memorandum to anybody until you've signed it off. So you have the opportunity to make it look great, even if they haven't. And if you approve something that is such a poor reflection on your business, it's going to reflect poorly on your business. Once you've met a potential buyer, you enter the courtship phase, where the two of you are going to build your relationship and work towards a deal. If they email you or your broker with questions and they feel like that email is going into a vacuum, then the alarm bells are going to start ringing. You might think, I'll answer that next week when I have time. The buyer will think, are they hiding something? And they'll start to lose confidence in the deal and the business. Buyers need fast, complete information. It shows them that you want the deal as much as they do. Would you like to buy this box for $1,000? What's in the box? I'm not sure. That's a simplified version of a scenario that I see playing out all the time. The buyer asks, "What was your profit last year?" The seller says, "I don't know, I need to check with my accountant." The accountant takes 2 weeks to respond. If this is you, the buyer will run a mile. And that's not so much because they don't like to be kept waiting. It's because they don't trust your answer. Your accountant can only produce your management accounts off the information that you give him. If you had all those numbers nicely recorded in a spreadsheet or accounting software, you wouldn't need to contact your accountant to work out your profit. It would be something that you could do in less than a minute by just looking at the data. The fact that you don't have those numbers at your fingertips means that you're relying on your memory, which just makes them much less likely to be accurate. The first deal I did, we started negotiations in October and completed in February. The second deal, we started negotiations in January and completed in June. Deals take time, but also time kills deals. I've seen this happen so many times. The pipeline is strong and the forecast is encouraging when the deal is negotiated. But as the process moves on and as due diligence drags on, the seller becomes distracted. They lose a pitch, sales become sluggish, and when the time comes to close the deal, the business is just worth less than it was 6 months ago. So the seller has to choose between dropping the price if the buyer is still interested, or losing the deal completely. If you ever want to sell your business, then please don't let any of these things happen to you. Or if you know anyone who might want to sell their business, please forward them this video. Buyers want deals to close, but don't make it so hard for them. Thanks for sticking with me. You've got to subscribe now. We're basically best friends after that.